Hi everyone, welcome back to Screaming on the Inside, a UKAT Alumni podcast discussing all things recovery. It's been a while since we last podded, but glad we're back now and ready to get back to you all. My name's Lee, I'm your host for today. I am also the admissions supervisor for UK Addiction Treatment Centres, and I am in recovery myself. I'm very lucky today to be joined by our very special guest, who's not only a member of the UKAT alumni community, but also the creator of the amazing Endless Possibilities log, Mr. Matt Ingram. Thank you for joining me today, Matt. I loved your most recent article where you mentioned you're 6'6". The transformation is amazing in the pictures you processed. How does it feel? And could you please tell me a little bit more about it and your blog and how it came to be about, please?
Yeah, thanks, Lee. Yeah, it feels absolutely amazing to be a part of recovery. Recovery is my life. It's a way of life, as you know, being in recovery yourself. My blog came about mainly because of the whole COVID situation. It was, it was something to do for me. It's something I feel passionate about. I wanted to kind of spread the message in my own way because I don't do any kind of program as such. I kind of work my own program. Which I kind of make up as I go along. And it's just really helped me kind of staying connected with people all across the country and beyond, actually. There's people from other countries that follow the blog. But it's so amazing to see a community of people. I think I've got 27,000 followers now.
Wow.
It's just kind of sprung up, and they all stick together, and you see in the comments, like, people are having banter and supporting each other and everything. I mean, and it's all because of this blog. And it's just, I'm really blessed to be a part of that and actually be the kind of creator of that. It's quite overwhelming, really, in many ways.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. I mean, I've had the pleasure of actually following you online for a little while and seeing how many people you're reaching out and helping. I think you're a prime example of recovery really isn't a one-size-fits-all. There are many different ways to recover, and I think you're right as well about having fun in recovery. Myself, I could take myself, way too seriously back in the day, and it is about getting out there and having fun and enjoying your new life. And I know that you've touched the hearts and helped so many people as well. It's absolutely fantastic to see the change in you. Seeing you from coming into treatment and going through the alumni process and having all of this now. So we're going to just go through a few questions that I'm sure, everyone will be interested in, and I certainly am as well, to go through what it's like in recovery and look at the positives and also the challenges we face. So, I think this last year has been really tough for everyone, particularly for those of us, who we don't really have coping mechanisms when we come into recovery. Could you just tell us, if you're able to, over the last year or so, 3 negatives that you've gone through during this challenging time, but also 3 positives that you can take from the last year?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the negatives, obviously, apart from the obvious, the whole virus pandemic and lockdown situation, I mean, it's been tough on everyone, but I think the biggest problem I've had in the last year or so, I mean, even before the pandemic, was loneliness. I mean, it's still something that affects me now. I think not a lot of people realise that when you get into recovery, it can be a very lonely place. I mean, when I was in active addiction, my whole using was centred around the pub, being the centre of attention in the pub, getting up on tables, singing, dancing, on the karaoke and whatever, that's what I craved. It wasn't so much the substance. Well, I mean, it was the substance as well. But I needed the alcohol to get up there, and I needed the coke to kind of sober me up before I progressed on crack, obviously. And I mean, I was surrounded by people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I got into recovery, it was a bit of a shock to the system to have this much quieter life, which I'm coming to terms with now. I mean, it's a learning process, as I'm sure you'll know, but the loneliness has been really, really tricky. I think that's probably the biggest kind of challenge I've faced. Also, I'd say probably one of the worst things about the last year or so has been social media being used the wrong way. I'm quite active, as you know, on social media. I'm trying to see a lot of things happening, and I'm not perfect in any sense, but I think people at their worst, it all seems to be on social media. I think people are so quick to judge, and people are so quick to put down. There's not enough positivity anywhere really. I mean, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And I think we need more of that. We need more positivity, because people's mental health, whether they're in addiction or not, or in recovery or not, is so detrimental to their mental health. Just seeing all these put downs and all this negative stuff. I mean, how often do you see positive stuff on Facebook? I mean, it's just like 99 times out of 100, it's all negative. People moaning, and
yeah,
and I just think social media being used the wrong way, because I'm quite an advocate of social media. I think it's brilliant. I'll come on to that shortly, but I mean, it's all about connection and things like that. And if you use it right, it can actually be a really good tool to anyone, whatever situation you're in. But I'd say loneliness and social media were the negatives for me in the last year or so.
Okay. And the positives that you can take out of this last year?
Well, apart from my blog being the obvious one, that's been absolutely amazing for me personally, and I like to think for a lot of people too. But apart from that, I mean, again, remaining clean and sober throughout the whole pandemic and stuff, that's been like the obvious positive one, because I mean, they always say without your recovery, look after your recovery and the rest falls into place, the old saying, and I think that's so true, because I've sort of worked at it every day. Some days have been harder than others, and I just think if you can just kind of stick to the day, remain clean and sober, you'll be absolutely fine. I mean, the rest, it really will fall into place, because if you just look after you, plenty of self-care, which is what I'm all about. I love the self-care, because I was on such a self-destructive path for so many years. It's still quite a novelty to actually look after myself now. So that's obviously the biggest positive. Giving up smoking. I gave up smoking, not New Year's Eve, just gone, the last New Year's Eve. That was just absolutely amazing. I mean, I can see now why so many people bang on about, ex-smokers are always banging on about how wonderful it is to give up smoking. I never believed them. Because I thought I enjoyed a cigarette so much, but I didn't really. I especially didn't enjoy a cigarette without a drink in my hand, because those two go hand in hand, I think.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and after a line of coke for me, I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but that was always the one. And I mean, just smoking, I was doing it for the sake of doing it. It was okay in early recovery. I think I smoked for the first 6 months of recovery. And I actually smoked a lot more, because obviously I was craving other things. But as soon as I gave up, that was a very kind of liberating feeling. And it just, like I say, a whole new lease of life in my recovery, because I've saved money, my health's got better. It's a win-win situation when you give up smoking, and I recommend it to anyone to do it when they're ready. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it if you're not ready, because I'm guilty of smoking anything between 40 and 60 a day, like in rehab, because it was just the only thing to do for me. It was the only bit of pleasure I could get from the only substance I could get my hands on.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, isn't it, when you look at the social media and the way it is at the moment, that a lot of us, especially us guys in recovery, and I think particularly more this year, have really leaned on social media. I know I have as a support network for myself, and the amount of negativity you see on there, it can be detrimental to my mental health looking at that stuff and almost getting sucked into it. But I think this is why we need people like yourself. I really think it is why we need that positive message out there, because I think a lot of people, especially in early recovery, and a lot of people that are going to be listening to this as well, are going to be struggling with, negative thoughts, especially with what's going on in the world now, with now in another national lockdown. But actually, like you said, the positive things you've mentioned that have happened in the last 12 months for you, there's always good to be taken out of it. There always is, but it's tapping into that and realising that it's always there. It really is. I think even myself, I've been clean a while now, but it's been a difficult year. It's been my most difficult year in recovery, but there's still lots of positives there. The relationships I have with my family and everything are all still there. There are always good things that we can sort of take out of any bad situation. I mean, how do you feel that the situation with COVID has affected the way that somebody in recovery like yourself and like myself can access support and stay in touch with support groups. I mean, how has that been? How has that affected your situation in the last, say, 12 months since we've been in lockdown?
I think you can look at it with in two ways. I mean, I've adapted to the situation really, really well. I'm not saying that to get a pat on the back, but I think I've kind of used it to my advantage, where I'm staying connected with people in and out of recovery all across the country, old friends, new friends, whatever. I'm using Zoom and WhatsApp, things I'd never really heard of before this lockdown situation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in that sense, it's brilliant. I've also used all the spare time in my hands. I've done, like, my family tree. I've spent a bit of time doing the family tree online, stuff like that. I mean, I always kind of advise people, because people come to me for advice now, believe it or not. It's great. I love it.
No, I can believe they do.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I couldn't support myself 18 months ago, and now I'm supporting people. It's great. But it's like I always suggest to them, if you've got all this time on your hands, go for a walk, learn a language, do a college course, do something. It's, if you use everything, like you just said, to your advantage, turn a negative into a positive. And I think if you kind of have that mindset, you can get through anything. And as addicts or ex-addicts, or however you identify, I think adapting to situations is something we should be experts at, So I don't think there's any kind of excuse as such, and I'm sorry to sound harsh, to just like, oh, well, I'm going to relapse, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, because you can use this time to your advantage. Time is something that's so precious, and I think if you can actually just do something positive with it, then do it. On the other side of the coin, though, I will say I've kind of fallen into the trap as well, again, back to the loneliness. Oh, well, I can't go out, I can't do this, can't do that. It is quite hard to get almost sucked in, I suppose, to that negative mindset, sitting around all day watching Netflix, feeling sorry for yourself. We've all done that. I mean, I'm the first to admit I'm quite a lazy person. So, I mean, I can quite easily just, stay in bed a bit too long and not get motivated. But, that's me personally. But if a lazy person like me can actually get out of bed, get dressed, do something good, do your family tree, do something, it just goes to show anyone can do it. And I really do believe that. So, yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? I think the majority of us can be quite motivated, and I think for someone like yourself, speaking to you, and also, seeing your change again. I know I've mentioned that a few times, but it absolutely astounds me in what is, I know you've been clean quite a long time now, but in what in relatively is, quite a short amount of time in somebody's life, the revolutionary change that's happened with you has been amazing. That you see that change and you see it in yourself, other people see it in you as well, and you want to chase it because you feel good. And that is the motivation for certainly for most of us for staying clean, is how much our life changes so quickly. And it has been, our world has gone. I mean, I know you've said that you're using other methods to stay clean for you. I subscribe to 12-step recovery myself, and my situation before the COVID lockdown was I was able to go out. I spent a lot of time in the office, of course, because we work shifts, and then I'd be going to meetings afterwards and meeting my friends and the fellowship for coffee and things, and all that's been taken away from me in that respect. But we're still able to stay in touch with the right motivation, such as, online blogs. There's always support. There's Facebook groups, such as, you have a fantastic Facebook group I know that has a lot of followers now, where there's always people there to help. We also have online meetings as well, which we've been able to keep in contact with, keep in contact with each other. And the motivation that you have for doing different things, self-improvement, I love that as well, because we come into recovery, we know some of us have no life skills, we have, some of us in some cases we don't have any lives outside of our addiction. So building that up for yourself, to give yourself a purpose, it's another thing that recovery is all about. It's not just about, as you're aware, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be aware, that the stopping of the using, the actual physical part of the addiction, is literally just the tip of the iceberg. It's all that other stuff underneath that we address and we learn how to live with. And recovery is a blessing. Life is a blessing. This isn't a dress rehearsal. This is a one-time deal, and to make the most of it is an absolute must, certainly for me, and it sounds like for you as well, Matt. Now, I know that your recovery blog has helped you connect with people, like you said, from all over the world. I think we're so blessed to have that form of social media. And your story, has helped those people trying to understand addiction, because it's a big thing in the beginning, is an understanding addiction and really understanding what it means. Okay. So, Matt, how has your recovery block helped you to connect with people and share your story? And in turn, how has that helped you in your recovery?
It's helped me massively. I mean, like I said earlier, it's something that I feel really passionate about. It's given me a kind of sense of direction, I suppose. I've got so much. I know that I've got this kind of fire in my belly to change people's perceptions, raise awareness, and I really want to do that. And I thought the best way to do that would be through social media. I remember when I first started the blog. I mean, I didn't have high hopes about it. It was just, I thought I'd get a few followers, kind of few friends, few family, maybe a few strangers as well, and just kind of share my side of the story. I didn't realise the impact it would have on everyday people. I mean, from addicts, ex-addicts, the loved ones of addicts, people that just wanted to further their understanding of addiction. I mean, I've had loads of them message me asking to do talks at various clubs, functions and things like that. And it's taken a whole new level to my recovery, because I'm helping other people. Because, as you know, in 12 steps, I mean, spreading the message is obviously a fundamental part of it.
Yeah, it is.
Like I said, I'm not into the steps. I'm not into any program really. I dabble with SMART, but this is kind of my program. I'm spreading my message, and that helps other people, which helps me in a kind of selfish way, I suppose. Because I'm looking out for myself first and foremost. I won't lie about that. That's what I do. That's what I have to do. You have to be selfish in recovery at times, and it really does help me. Helping people helps me. That's the best way I can put it, I suppose. And being connected to all those people, I mean, I'm quite privileged that I can actually just flick on a switch on the laptop or on the smartphone and just have access to all these people. So I'm in a really good position, but I feel really strongly about creating that community, which, like I said, has gone far beyond my wildest dreams. And just opening up the comments and seeing people just interact with themselves, I just think that's amazing. It's a beautiful thing to see, and I'm really, really proud of that. And I'm going to keep it going for as long as possible. Obviously, I'd like to get into the kind of the recovery industry, addiction industry kind of work in the future. That's what I want to do. That's like my life. But this is just a hobby, I suppose, in a way. So yeah, it's helped me massively, and I like to think it's helped a lot of people. Well, they've told me it's helped them, so I'm really happy with that as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at your comments. I know you're helping people. It's funny, isn't it? We have a hobby at helping save people's lives, and it's true.
Yeah.
It is quite funny what you say about the recovery being selfish, and it really is like that in a lot of ways. Even myself, I help other people to help myself. It's not something I do because I'm a really, really nice guy and I like giving almost spare time for people. I do it because I have to do it, because it's effectively saving my life. But it is a passion, and to see, so you see people connect to your page who don't have a clue about addiction, about recovery and what's wrong with them, and just tapping into that resource and getting the support from other people and the knowledge and other people's experience of it. It is, I mean, remember when I first found out about addiction, it's mind-blowing. Because did you think that you were, before you came into Oasis Runcorn, did you think you were quite alone in the way you thought and felt?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. I thought I was the only one in the world. I thought nothing could help me. I was just, I thought I was a lost cause. Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, and so many people do. So, you're flicking around, you find a blog, you see hundreds or thousands, in your case, of people that are all there supporting each other, and it breaks that isolation straight away, because it is one of the most crippling things about addiction, or it certainly was in my experience. I don't know about yours, but the the isolation of it all, the feeling that I was the only one who thought the way I did, and also the only one that felt the way I did about myself. And then you find out that it's quite common, them thoughts and them feelings, because lots of people experience them. I think it's one of the blessings, and certainly is, of social media, where years ago we didn't have this facility to turn to.
Oh yeah, I'm well aware that we're blessed to have that, and I mean that's why I'm kind of so anti social media abusers, because they ruin it for everyone else. It's like trolls. I mean, because as you can imagine, I've had a few trolls on the page. Or well, when I've kind of advertised the page, like I've had trolls just say, "Oh well, yeah, you should have just not taken the drugs in the first place," and stuff like this. And I think, oh, for God's sake, the thing is, I can have 99 comments that are lovely, that are saying you're doing great, you're an inspiration, thank you for helping people, I've learned something new, blah, 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 brilliant. And then the one comment that says, well, you're a druggie, you should go and kill yourself, they're the ones that you remember, And
I know.
It's the nasty side of social media. But I'm fairly thick-skinned. I say fairly because, I mean, other things can really hurt, But things like that, I mean, luckily go over my head. But what if someone else that wasn't as thick-skinned as me was doing this blog, and what if it affected them a bit too much and they went out and did something stupid? I mean, it's scary to think, really. People have that power without realising it on social media. I like to think I'm using my power, if you like. I mean, I don't like to use that word, but I'm using it for good. Whereas other people, they completely abuse it. And I mean, well, they should just be banned off social media, but that's a whole other debate, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it is. It's yeah, you're right. I think people who are like that are very ignorant of addiction, first and foremost. I believe I have got roped into that stuff where I've started replying to them trolls, trying to put across the side of the addict, and I've just given up now, because you're never going to win. But I do understand your point of view. It isn't great, and like you say, you are thick-skinned. The majority of people are, but you're quite new to recovery. You see that type of stuff, and you're right. It can be harmful to them people. It really can. So, Matt, since going to Oasis Runcorn and becoming a member of the UKAT alumni community, do you find that you still stick to the structure from when you was in treatment, or has it evolved over time?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely stuck to the structure that Oasis Runcorn taught me. I remember the counsellors giving us all like these timetables to stick to. I mean, I'm a bit more of a free spirit, but that actual structure that I was kind of taught in the 4 weeks I was there, that's been really kind of essential to my recovery. I can't thank Oasis Runcorn enough, to be honest, because when I came out of treatment, it was all very, kind of the day I came home, it was just like, well, what do I do now? And I thought, well, I've got to stick to something. And having that kind of those 28 days of almost like regimented structure, it really, really paid off for me. I've seen a lot of people actually comment on the UKAT alumni Facebook group about the structure and saying how good it is, and I couldn't agree more, because I kind of get up every day. It's everything's penciled in. That's how I like to kind of describe it, because I can change it at any time I want. But I get up. Actually, I always respond to people on the blog first. That's kind of the first thing I do. I get up, do that, maybe even write an article. Then I go downstairs, have like 3 bits of fruit, a fruit smoothie, vitamins. This is literally the complete opposite to 18 months ago when I was waking up to a glass of whiskey and a crack pipe. It was, I couldn't be further from it, and I love it. But yeah, that structure I need. Get up, do that. Everything about self-care. I mean, I spend ages brushing my teeth, mouthwash, shaving, shower, everything like that. I take a lot of pride in myself. I think that's really key. By the way, this is on a day off, not when I'm working. But I always get up, make sure I get dressed, look presentable, because you've got to do that. I mean, it's like when I was in Oasis Runcorn, I was getting up. I was always the first to get up, the first to be down there having a cigarette. Then I'd go and have some breakfast, and I'd do this. And that structure, it was just absolutely amazing, because I needed it, because active addiction, I had structure. I knew what I was doing every single day. It might not have been like the same thing every single day, but I knew that I had to go out, find drugs, find money to get drugs, use the drugs and get more drugs. That was the normal kind of day as Matt, as an addict, So then rehab, I needed that structure to continue, just obviously in a different way. Obviously, less drugs, more fruit and veg, and it's just, which is obviously brilliant. And again, like the eating well, on the days off and at work, I'm always eating good, nutritious meals. You know, I got that from Robbie, the chef at Oasis Runcorn. You know, the importance of eating good food.
Yeah.
And I mean, God, did I eat food in there as well? I put on 1.5 stone while I was in there in 28 days. It was just such a novelty to me. And I mean, even now, the smallest things, I really don't take them for granted. You know, getting a takeaway on a Friday night, I love a takeaway, and I still get excited when the doorbell goes and he hands over the bag, because I mean, there's like all this nice food in there. I never had a takeaway in all the years of active addiction, because why would I want to spend my money on a takeaway when I could be spending it down the pub? You know, that was my mentality. So, you know, people don't understand why I get so excited about a takeaway. Like, you know, they say, Matt, it's just a curry, and I say, yeah, but it's a big curry. So yeah, food is always important to me, and I always have it around the same time every day. And then it's kind of in the afternoon, I'm always interacting with people, especially at this like moment in time with the pandemic. I'm always interacting with loads, like to cure my loneliness, I suppose. What else do I do? Oh, in the evenings I meditate as well. I've got to meditate. Actually, in treatment, I remember one of the support workers, he asked me if I wanted to go up and meditate, and I said no, and I laughed at him. And I mean, I wish I hadn't now, because I absolutely love meditating. It's just, again, it's something in active addiction. I remember hearing about people going to like meditation classes or yoga or like these dry bars and stuff like that, and not drinking. I thought, that's so strange, what's wrong with that? And now I'm doing it, and it's amazing. I think, don't knock it till you tried it. But meditation in the evenings, and then I'm in bed early every night. I lie in bed, read my book. I try and put my phone down, and I always get to bed, because I work early mornings when I do work. I'm always in bed by about 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. It's great. And I love my sleep. I get plenty of sleep, plenty of rest, fruit, veg, structure, and Oasis Runcorn gave me all that. You know what I mean? They kind of they gave me the tools to kind of know the importance of structure, and I'm very, very grateful to the UKAT for that. You know.
Thank you. And what about the alumni team? Because I know you are a part of our alumni program. Have they given you support since leaving our centre?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely forgot to mention them. Yeah, I get phone calls every so often. Abdul, he's brilliant. He phones me a few times, like every so often, like every month, I think. Just checks up on me, checks how I am. I was always very active on the UKAT group. That was really helpful, especially in my early recovery. You know, engaging with people, other people. Like when I had a problem, I'd put it to the group. A lot like when you're in process, you know, in treatment, and you're sat in the circle. If you've got a problem, put it to the group, and they try and help you. You know, I think that kind of community feeling is really, really important. The only reason I did break away from the UKAT alumni, I still post on there, but I made my own group because of my own personal mission to kind of raise awareness and break the stigma. And I thought, well, I'm unable to do that in a private group, so I kind of branched out and done my public stuff, and I also share that public stuff to the private group as well, because I know it's not for everyone joining a public group and being so public about their addictions, but it is for me, I'm passionate about it. So I'm in between at the moment, but yeah, the UKAT alumni group and all the staff and everything, yeah, I owe them a lot. They've really helped me out over the last 17, 18 months. So yeah, I'm very grateful.
Oh, thank you. I mean, so are you? I'm very open about being in recovery. Everyone that knows me knows I'm in recovery. It sounds to me like you're the same, like you're wearing it on your sleeve almost. If you've got a public group, that means people that don't know you can find the group easily.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's not something I don't introduce myself and say, hello, my name's Matt and I'm in recovery. You know, I don't kind of that would shock quite a few people. But I mean, if it ever comes up, I mean, I'm working a job at the moment. I've been there 4 or 5 months, and only a handful of people there know that I'm in recovery, because it's not something that's necessarily come up. I mean, There was one time this lad, because I work just above Bristol, which is about, I don't know, 45 minutes drive from Cheltenham, and I was saying to this one lad, he said, "Where do you come from?" I said, "Cheltenham." He said, "What's the nightlife down there like? What's the pubs like?" And I said, "Well, yeah, they're all right." I said, "I don't drink though." And he went, "Oh," and he sort of walked off, and I thought, oh, I could have had a mate then. Do you know what I mean? The old Matt would have been like, "Yeah, come down, I'll have a pint with you, and we'll get on the session, all this." But I couldn't do that, and I felt a bit kind of, I don't know, helpless. It was for the first time ever. I didn't know what to do, how to kind of approach that situation, because I'm so used to like the icebreaker, fancy a pint. Do you know what I mean? It's like one of those. I'm quite sort of old school. Friday you clock off work and you go straight to the pub and you work here. That's what I've kind of always done.
Yeah.
So now it's like I can't go up to a bloke at work and say, "Oh, do you fancy going for a walk in the countryside?"
Well, you could do. I don't think he'd come, but
well, you could, but no, it's just it don't have the same thing. So I mean, in that respect, I'm quite kind of private about it, I suppose. But no, if it comes up in conversation, yeah, I'll always say about it.
Yeah, you'll be surprised as well. I was on holiday a couple of years ago, and we met this couple out there. Me and my wife met a couple, and it's the look you get, because I got a glass of Coke from the bar, and he said, "That's the biggest brandy and Coke I've ever seen," and I didn't correct him. And then when he got the drinks, he said, "Oh, do you want another brandy and Coke?" I said, "No, it's just Coke for me, please." And then he's, "Do you not drink?" I said, "No, do you know, I'm in recovery." It was easier to tell them than to not. And we've kept in contact with this couple fairly, once every month or so we'll send each other a message. And he actually messaged me about 2 months ago and asked me for a bit of advice, because he's got a problem with drinking, drinks way too much every day, and wanted a bit of advice about how he could actually go about stopping. So I think, like you, I don't say, "Oh, hi, my name's Lee, recovering addict." But if it comes up in conversation, I'm not embarrassed about it. And why should I be embarrassed about it? It'd be like, addiction, as far as I'm concerned, is an illness. But if it helps people, I will always disclose, because like yourself with your blog, myself with my story, it could help another person to actually effectively, come into recovery and save their life. So I think it's always a good thing to sort of, and it's certainly nothing to be ashamed of anyway. So I think this is a big one for us all, Matt. So when people come into recovery, myself included, you're worried that life can be very limiting, feeling that you're missing out, maybe that life's over with. I know I certainly felt that way when I thought about giving up drinking and drugs. So are you okay to give us, say maybe the top 3 things that you've done or experiences that you've had since being clean and sober that you wouldn't have done otherwise?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, I'd say the small things are probably the biggest thing for me. I've mentioned earlier about eating out and eating meals. Obviously can't eat out at the moment, but all the small things that I have never kind of done. I mean, long walks, not living with like a constant fear of owing people money and bumping into them, not having a hangover all the time with a come down, and having money in the bank. I mean, they're such like normal everyday things, and they're the things that I wouldn't have if it wasn't for my recovery. I mentioned earlier about the takeaways. I mean, I still, even my mouth is actually watering now. Do you know what I mean? Just talking about
you're making me hungry as well, Matt.
I'll have to send you a voucher on Just Eat or something afterwards. But I mean, just things like that, being able to get up in the morning, fresh as a daisy, have a shave when I need a shave instead of leaving this stubble growing and looking rough and everything. It's just, no offence to people with stubble, I'm sure it looks great on others, but it don't on me. But yeah, it's just all the small things. That's first and foremost. The small things are big things for me. Getting a job that I've never been late to and never gone sick. It sounds really boring, but you wouldn't believe how important that is to me. Every job that I've ever had, I mean, my first job I was sacked for stealing to fund my addiction. My second job I had a mental breakdown. I wet shaved my head and just gone absolutely, behaviour was erratic and all sorts, had to leave the job due to mental health, brought on by my addictions, of course. And then my third job I had to leave because I was going to rehab. I mean, I have never even like left a job normally because I've got another job lined up or anything. You know, I've either been sacked or been forced to leave. And it's just to have a job now where I go in, I see my boss, I make eye contact with him and say good morning, you know, little things like that.
Yeah.
I don't have to have all these excuses lined up as to why I stink of booze and why my eyes are all bloodshot and why I keep going to the toilet every 5 minutes. And, you know, it's so liberating. And when I say that to people that are, you know, still in active addiction that want my help, you know, they probably think that's a bit boring, but is it really? I mean, to have that normality in your life, you know, where you're not scared of the phone ringing every 2 minutes or people knocking on your door. I used to put my phone face down, you know, not because I've got a girlfriend and I don't want to see my messages. It was because I didn't want to see my messages. You know, it was my own guilty conscience that was like keeping me trapped. And I mean, I'm free from all that, and that's amazing. And the third one, money in the bank, just having a bit of money in the bank. I don't earn a huge amount, but when I want something, when I go into a shop, I can buy something. You know, I used to go into a shop, know exactly what I wanted, know where the alcohol section was. You know, I might buy a scratch card if I was lucky, just to see if I could win more money to buy more drugs or more alcohol. Now I go into a shop and within reason, of course, because I'm not loaded, I can go in and just buy what I want. You know, if I see a Mars bar on the shelf and it says special offer, buy this, whatever, I can buy it. I don't have to work out the maths in my head as to how much I can spend on alcohol and spend on this, because £1 to me was another can of Strongbow. It wasn't £1 for a big bar of Galaxy. Do you know what I mean? It was that's how my mind works. And like I had like a calculator in my brain. And when I kind of saved a couple of quid on like 4 cans, I'd go and buy another 2 cans. You know, that was how my mind worked. Now, again, I'm free from all that. So just things like that have been like the best things ever, and they wouldn't have been possible without recovery. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're boring things at all. I think that's probably one of the most honest answers I've ever heard to a question like that. And it's true. It's the little things, you know. It isn't. I mean, the other things are nice to get in your life if they come, but you know, like you say, the freedom. Having money in my pocket in active addiction was not money that I'm going to be spending on anything else. If I've got 25 quid, it's 2 and 1. Do you know what I mean? Or it's 2 stones and a few beers. It's not money for anything else. And having that freedom just to do what you want to do, be free of addiction is absolutely amazing, and be able to be accountable and responsible, and the lives that you affect in your recovery, both people you don't know through recovery, but also the personal relationships you have as well with family members. To me, that is what recovery is all about. Is exactly what you just described, and it is so true. It's just the little things. And you know, if you had told me in the beginning when I came into recovery that all this was possible, I wouldn't have believed it, if I'm honest. And I did used to think life without drugs was going to be really boring.
Yeah.
You know, I just used to think it would be, well, you know, what you're going to be doing next week, Lee? Well, I'm not going to be using drugs, and I'm probably going to be in a meeting. You know, it would be like that. But having the desire to use gone. So that part that I'm sure you had as well, Matt, you know, when you've promised yourself, you've literally destroyed your life again, and you've made that promise to yourself, do you know what, I'm never, ever, ever using again. And when you said it to yourself, did you really mean it?
Well, I've said it a few times, but I think the last time I said it, and I think that's a very kind of freeing experience as well, because I remember, I think I wrote about it on my blog actually, about arguing with the counsellor at Oasis Runcorn, because I think about 2 weeks in, I was convinced that I was still going to drink when I came out of treatment, and she said, but alcohol is one of your problems. I said, yeah, but I'll moderate. I'll be all right. I'll moderate. And she said, but have you ever tried moderating before? And I thought, well, yeah, every weekend. and she said it didn't work, did it? I said, no. And it was then I kind of just about got my head around it. But even then, I mean, it still took a little while for that acceptance, because you can't move forward until you get that acceptance, until you fully accept that you cannot drink or use successfully again. And when you do actually finally kind of accept that, And you've got to experience recovery a little bit first, for me anyway. I mean, because I had to have that taste of recovery for the first good few months of recovery. I was saying, yeah, I'm going to give this recovery a go, but when I get to a year, I think I'll probably have a drink again. I was openly telling people as well, because I thought, no, I don't really fancy this recovery nonsense. It's a bit boring. I don't like it, blah, blah, blah. And then I got to a year, and those thoughts had never been sort of further from my mind. My 1 year clean and sober, which was 18th of July last year, just gone.
Congratulations.
Obviously. Thank you. That was just the proudest moment of my life. Waking up that morning, it was like when I was a kid. Then Christmas Eve when you're little and you're excited for Christmas Day to come. Bit of an anticlimax, but it wasn't for me when I was a year clean and sober, because I woke up and I was clean, sober, I was alive, I felt fresh. My mum and dad said they were proud of me. They got me a card, they put a little banner up for me, and it was just the most magical day. And it was amazing, and it was just like Christmas. I couldn't sleep the night before. I was so excited. It was just amazing. And I mean, again, little things like that, a little paper banner saying "Well done, Matt," that my mum made. I mean, it's just amazing, absolutely incredible. So I mean, when I actually accepted that I couldn't drink or use again, I mean, it was like, yeah, good riddance. Do you know what I mean? What good did drink and drugs ever do for me? Yeah, they made me a different person. Yeah, I enjoyed it at the time, but my whole life fell apart while I was on drugs and while I was drinking. It just prolonged the inevitable. I still had the debts when I sobered up. I still had the people that I've fallen out with, when I sobered up. You've got to face reality at some time. And so why make your reality worse? Do you know what I mean? It's just get clean, get sober, and just start a new life. And I've started a new life, and it is absolutely brilliant. Just for all the small things, like I've said, the small things are the big things. And I am loving life, genuinely. I don't have to pretend to love life anymore, because I'm actually loving it.
No, that's true. And I liked what you said there about early recovery, because it can be difficult for people. And I think that's why so many people don't actually stay around like yourself, because most people believe, and I used to believe exactly the same, is I'd go through the process of detox, I'd get physically clean and my life would be amazing. The problem is I'd get physically clean and things would be quite challenging. So we have things, consequences of our past to deal with. I certainly had consequences of my past. I certainly had feelings and emotions come through, and I was still getting sort of 3-4 years clean where I'd feel something, and I thought, I've not felt that before. Because in addiction, I just felt anger and fear and self-pity, really, is all I knew how to feel. I used anger as a way to deal with everything. And then you sort of get clean and you're having all of these feelings come up. But, it is why, for all of us, so important that early recovery is treated as such. And it's a lot of work. I know you've put in a lot of work. I most certainly have put in a lot of work as well to get through that challenging time. But what you've said, and you certainly, listening to you talk, it fills me with enthusiasm as well. It really does, because it is amazing how quickly things can turn around, and how, like you say, the little things in your life start really meaning something, and how quickly you feel the benefit. But it's just getting through that first, the first few months, the first 6 months. In my case, the first year and a half was quite difficult, but, actually getting through that time and dealing with that so we can go on experience a more comfortable and settled life and have the desire to use gone. It's, it is something that's a true gift. Now, the sober life is becoming a cultural norm for many of us. Many people, even people not in active addiction, are leading sober lives. But, as we've already sort of touched upon, I think some people still going to get some odd reactions from some people. So what's your strangest reaction that you've had to maybe first dates, friends, or when you've met strangers and you've told them that you're in recovery?
I don't really have strange reactions. I just have disbelief and confusion. I'm always met with just like this massive lack of understanding. Which is quite funny in itself, really, because I've had it numerous times where I've been like in a pub or at certain like functions, weddings, whatever, and someone said like, "Oh, you're not having a drink?" And I say, "Well, no, I don't drink." And they say, "Why?" I mean, they're just so shocked, because I think, this kind of drinking, even drug culture in many kind of social circles is so prevalent. I'm glad it's kind of going the other way. in some cases, but I mean, it's still very much there. And I mean, I usually get the same old rubbish from the same old people. Well, the problem is with you, Matt, is you need to moderate. And I think, well,
yes.
Thank you very much, Sherlock. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I wish I'd have spoken to you like 10 years ago when I was like selling my beloved CD collection to pay for more drugs, you know. It's like, if I knew how to moderate, I'd be doing it. And they just don't understand. They say, what you've got to do is just have a couple and then go home. And I think, what? I know. It's like, why do they even bother telling me this? It's just, you couldn't make it up, really. And the amount of times I've had that, honestly, if I had £1 for every time, I'd be a rich man. You know, people telling me how to drink and how to use successfully.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? It's complete lack of understanding around addiction. It really, really is. I went out with I met a girl 4 years ago. That girl's now my wife, and our first date, she said, do you want to have a drink? And she was having a vodka, and I said, no, do you know what, I'm driving, and I never drink when I'm driving, so I appear as a very responsible man. But I really liked her that first night, so I thought, the next night I'm just going to tell her, when I meet her next time, I'm just going to tell her, Lee, you know, you're an alcoholic, and you don't drink. And I built it up to be something really big all day, and I met her that night, and I said, I've got something to tell you, and she thought I was going to say I'm married or something like that. And I said, I'm an alcoholic, I don't drink, I've been sober now a couple of years. And she just looked at me, she said, is that it? I thought you were going to tell me you were married. And actually, it's quite nice because I'm always designated driver, so she can have a drink. And so she quite likes it. And
she's relieved.
And I went out with who's now my brother-in-law about 3 months after I'd met my now wife. And he said, you know, do you think you can ever drink again? And I said, no, I don't think so. And he said, well, what about if we got a couple of beers for you? With just 2 or 3, we sat you in a room and we didn't let you get any more. And I said, 1, it sounds painful. You know, it sounds absolutely painful. And 2, I don't react to alcohol the same way as you do. Now, if I could drink like you, I would most definitely be drinking. I would most definitely be drinking if I could have a good drink on a Friday and Saturday night, get what I wanted to get from it, and then stop again. I most definitely would. I think most people don't understand the reaction that I think the people that are going to be listening to this are going to have when they take a drink or a drug in their body. And you know, some people drink heavily. I drink till I'm homeless. I'm one of them. You know, I just don't stop when I start. But no, there are some funny reactions, and it's usually people who don't understand. But most of the people, in my experience, if I'm honest, over the years have been absolutely fine with it. You know, they've been absolutely fine with the fact that I just don't drink. Apart from that, to all intents and purposes, I have a normal life, whatever normal is. I go to work like you do and lead a good existence. So the over lockdown, you, myself, probably a lot of us have been watching a lot of TV and films, maybe reading a lot as well. Is there anything that you've read that's inspired you, or you've just really enjoyed or watched over recently?
Yeah, actually, there was a lady called Alison Kerwin who got in contact with me through the Endless Possibilities page, and she privately messaged and said she had written this book, and could I do a like and share competition on the Endless Possibilities page? And I said, yeah, of course you can. Obviously, I've looked at the book first, and it was all about addiction. It was about her brother Danny dying from a heroin overdose. Wow. And it was, and she asked me to do this competition. It would pick 5 winners and all the rest of it. And I did, and it was an honour to do so. And she said she'll send me a free copy of the book. And I got it. It's called The Counsellor, by the way. And it was just absolutely brilliant. She was writing it because her brother passed away, and it was basically, the last thing he said to her was he wants to become a counsellor to help other people. Which sounded like me anyway. I mean, I remember actually doing a level 1 counselling course at college while I was smoking crack at the time. I mean, I was quite bad on the drugs and alcohol. It wasn't long before I went to rehab. But so I kind of related to his story without even reading it. And then I read it, and even though I was never a heroin user, I could just relate to so much in the book, and she explained addiction so well. It was scary to think, because I mean she wasn't an addict or isn't an addict herself, and she did such a great job of explaining it. But it was written in a way that it kind of jumps back from when he had died to when he was alive, like seeing the Happy Mondays and stuff like that, about the drug culture. I mean, that's touched upon as well. And also, not only could I relate to the addiction side of it, she wrote a lot about grief. It was equally about grief as it was addiction. And I'm actually quite fortunate not to have really lost anyone that close to me. So learning about grief was, I mean, it was quite hard reading it in some places. I mean, I was choked up in a few bits. I mean, especially like talking about her brother's funeral, because it could have been me. You know, it was quite sobering. I can't really think of another word, but it was a sobering read. And I learned a lot about grief. She did a great job of explaining that as well. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the way she explained grief, I almost feel like I'm prepared for the inevitable when someone close to me does pass away, because she did such a brilliant job with the book. So yeah, I mean, yeah, The Counsellor by Alison Kerwin, I couldn't recommend that enough. That was absolutely brilliant.
Okay, well, thanks for that. Do you know what? I'm going to give that a read, Matt, because it does sound like a riveting book for someone who have not actively in active addiction themselves, but probably has a real great understanding of it. Have you not been binge watching Netflix or anything like that, Matt? It sounds a little too motivated for that.
I've done a bit of Netflix, and that I watched. What was it? It was called The Recovery Boys. That was on Netflix. That was brilliant. That was about a farm-based rehab in America.
I've seen that. That's good.
Yeah, it followed the journey of about 3 blokes, I think, and the one. Well, I won't spoil it for anyone, but I mean, they all took different paths. Let's put it that way. And yeah, that was pretty good as well. But I've been reading a lot more since I've actually got like a clear head. I mean, like, the ability to read, that's another thing that I'm really grateful for. But you know, I'm jumping back to another question now, aren't I?
No, that's fine. Absolutely
yeah,
fine. You can say what you want to say.
Read, brilliant.
That's amazing. That really is. I mean, it's. I think I've had a lot of spare time in lockdown. Myself, I've thrown myself into a lot of Zoom meetings. If I'm honest, I've been quite blessed where I can do meetings before work as well as after work. I've always been quite an avid reader, certainly since getting clean. But I tend to read more. More horror novels and things. I'd love to say I read the big book every day, like 24 hours a day, but I really don't. Well, Matt, thank you so much for chatting to me today. I really do mean it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I've learned a lot, and you've certainly filled me with some enthusiasm. So you've been listening to Screaming on the Inside with me, Lee Spinks, my very special guest, Matt Ingram. Thanks very much for listening, and if you want to hear more about Matt's journey in recovery, where can they find you, Matt?
It's my blog. It's called Endless Possibilities on Facebook.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming today, and thank you everyone for listening.